I wanted to talk about one of the most important tools you can have in your tackle box that I bet most of you don't have. And we'll talk about some lures for this early spring bass fishing season. Now, the most important tool that you can have in your tackle box is a thermometer. Sorry for the shaky camera work. This is my phone here. This is just a aquarium thermometer bought at Walmart. I think it costs $1.63. So we're in the pets department, and it's got a little suction cup on there for you to stick inside the aquarium. But what you can do is when you get to the water, just set this down in the water just right in front of you, while you're tying on a lure or what have you. But don't tie the lure on yet till you get the temperature, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Or you could even tie your line to that and cast it out a little bit. Be careful. I mean, because this does float. And then give it a minute or two, and then reel it in and see what your temperature is. Now, what that'll tell you is approximately where in the yearly cycle that the bass is, and coming out of winter into spring, what I think is the temperature to concentrate on is about 50 to 55 degrees, and that's when the pre-spawn really starts to get going. The closer the bass spawn, usually between 60 and 65, and of course that's where it's that's where they're right up on the bank and you can sight fish and stuff like that. But 50 to 55 is where they start moving up. So we'll look at a few lures for that time period, and one of the best is a jig. This is just a generic football jig. And at this time of the year, they're feeding heavily on crawfish. And this is just a Yum craw bug. I don't know, $3 or so at Walmart. Whether you put it on a jig or Texas rig it, or even on a split shot, if you catch fish this time of year, you'll notice that a lot of them on the inside of their mouth is red. That's because they're coming and they're trapping those crawfish against the bottom, and they're hitting their lips, and so they can grab it. And a lot of times they'll try to kill it first, and then they'll come out and eat it. So a lot of time when you get a bite, don't jerk on the first hit, because that may be him trying to kill it. So let them take it and then jack their jaw. All right, another one. Spinner baits. I know nowadays it's kind of out of fashion to use spinner baits. People tend to use chatterbaits a lot more. But to be honest, I catch so many fish on spinner baits I can't put them down. So you do what you feel is best, and I'll do what I've been experiencing for about 30 years now. But early in the year, slow rolling a spinnerbait can be a deadly technique. And I know nowadays most spinnerbaits are double willow leaves or a willow and a Colorado, but in the early 50, 55, a single Colorado or Indiana blade, just reeled slowly, just slow enough to get that blade turning, can be the ticket to catching early spring bass. All right, now I know jerk baits are real good early in the year, especially in more clear water. I don't happen to have a hard one with me, but you can use slow slow. Soft plastic jerk baits like this Zoom Fluke or super salty super fluke. This is in baby bass. But one thing that you can do that's really good is, instead of jerking or twitching, one thing you can do that works really good in cold water is just a slow pull. Just start your rod, cast it out, let it go to the bottom, and start your rod, pointing towards your lure, and just slowly, like at a count of 3, 1001, 1002, 1003, raise your rod tip up to 12 o'clock, and that'll just slowly pull it up and back it up, slowly kind of pull it up, and then as you lower your rod back down, it'll sink to the bottom like a dying shad. Then it comes up and it sinks to the bottom like that, and you can really get some good hits. Sometimes they'll be subtle, but you don't necessarily have to twitch it like you might do a little later on in the year. Shallow running crankbaits. This is a Strike King square bill. Really good. We all know that. But reel it slow. You don't want to burn it. Just reel it slow. Just get it wobbling. And that can be really good. I like the bait fish representations, like the jerk baits and the crankbaits a little bit later in that spring, or that pre-spawn earlier. I tend to prefer the jigs and the crawfish imitations, or crawdads as we call them in Oklahoma. And the last one, swim baits. These are Kitech Impact Fats. This is 4 1/8 or 4.8 inches. But don't be afraid to throw bigger lures. Some people might say this is gigantic. I think it's so medium. But they call them largemouth for a reason. And they can eat big baits. But again, you don't want to burn it. You want to reel it slow. Just get that tail wobbling, and it doesn't take much. And when that temperature, when your thermometer starts showing 50, 55, you know it's time to catch some fish. So I have a chart here, which I will leave a link to. I got this from wiredtofish.com, and it has temperatures on the left there and suggested baits. The ones in the center here are for clear water, and then it has some for muddy water out here, which in the clear water you're usually going to fish faster with more natural colors, and in the muddy water you're going to fish slower with more dark colors or bright colors like chartreuse. But I will leave a link to this chart in the description below. So I hope this helps. Remember, take a kid fishing. I don't think there's a lot of gangbangers in court that had a fishing license, so keep that in mind. Take your kids fishing, whether they're boys or girls, it doesn't matter. Them fish don't care, and they're on an equal footing as far as who's going to catch what. So get out there. Let's catch some fish.